So welcome to today's video, how to mix Galaxy Brown. Galaxy Brown is a color, I do have the original version. It is, like the name says, of course, a brown color, but with violet granulation, because it is made out of two pigments, a brown and a violet. So of course we will be swatching the original version first, and then take a look at the pigments and how to mix the color yourself. The first pigment used in this mix is a PBR6. PBR6 is basically the synthetic version of a PBR7, which is your natural brown iron oxide, and of course the PBR6 is the synthetic brown iron oxide. That is a pigment that you won't see tons of. There aren't as many brands offering a PBR6 than PBR7, because PBR7 is the much more used brown iron oxide. There are definitely a few offering a PBR6. I have, for example, a version of Daniel Smith, but it looks completely different. The Daniel Smith version, for example, is a lot darker, more transparent in comparison to the Schmincke version. So this is one of the exceptions where I do say that in this case, in my opinion, it does matter more to use the Schmincke version than to use whatever you're having, just because every version of a PBR6 I've seen so far looks different to the other. So of course the results will definitely be different. Of course, that doesn't mean that other versions won't make a beautiful result. It is just they will be looking different. If that is not a problem, then feel free to use whatever you are having. The Schmincke version itself is already a color which has a color separation effect, because you have blackish granulation parts in it, and you have a separation between the more brownish and blackish parts. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. You could substitute that if you don't have a version which have that, with a super tiny amount of a PBK11, because I think the black iron oxide content in this PBR6 is probably a little bit higher than in other colors, just and that's the reason why you have that effect going on here. The other pigment is the PV62, which is a strontium violet. Schmincke calls their color cobalt violet hue, because they don't have a cobalt violet. They only offer this pigment as a hue. The only companies for many years who offered this pigment is Schmincke and another German brand called Lucas, which they also offers as a cobalt violet hue. Since I think last year, Roman Schmal also offers the pigment under their genuine name Strontium Violet. But those three brands are the only one I know offering the pigment. It is definitely a pigment I highly recommend having in your collection if you like granulation and color separation effects, just because we don't have a lot of granulating violets, and most of them, like ultramarine violet and cobalt violet, are very light colors, and the strontium violet can get very dark in comparison. It is a very beautiful color. So of course we want a brown color, so we have more brown than the violet in our mix. To be honest, the mix in my palette looked a lot like an Indian red or a caput mortem. as a mixed color, but when you apply it on the paper, it definitely looks not that way. We have a brown with a visible purple granulation and color separation effect going on. The only reason why mine is a lot lighter is that my pan with PBR 6 was empty. So I couldn't use more, therefore I couldn't make more, and my version is more watered down than the genuine version, but the result is the same. You just have the difference between a more concentrated and a more diluted version. Just because, like I said, my pan was empty. So yeah, there you have it, how to mix Galaxy Brown. It is very easy to mix, so I do think it is also very easy for beginners to recreate. It is a color I do like. You do definitely have a visible effect and color separation effect, but it is not as strongly as we do have in others, like for example Galaxy Violet or Glacier Green or so. There are colors that have a lot more going on if you're looking at it. So I would categorize this color somewhere in the middle if on the scale at how important I think it is to have a original version. Of course, all those colors are always nice to have and are not must have, just because you can recreate them all easily by yourself. And always, if you are on a budget and thinking about how to spend your money, I would always recommend rather buying single pigment colors than mixes like that, because you can do a lot more with the single pigment colors. You can make the mixes yourself, but you also can make other mixes or use the pigments on their own. Sorry. So if it is a decision between either the single pigment or a mixed color, I would always recommend going for the single pigment colors. So yeah, I would very much love to hear your personal opinion or experience with the color, if you do have it. Or did mix it on your own in the past and used it. Where do you use that color, or where could you imagine using it? And yeah, what do you think about how interested you would be in getting this special color? Or if it's also a color where you say, no, the effect isn't strong enough for me, and therefore it isn't interesting for me. Yeah, would love to hear that from you. And yeah, that's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope the video was interesting and helpful as always. And yeah, like always, a thumbs up or a follow is very, very much appreciated, because it really helps me in the channel. So thanks a lot for that. And yeah, hope you have a wonderful day, and see you next time. Bye bye.